Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do the Sunday market breakdown now, and yeah, let's jump straight into it. DXY, starting from higher time frame to the low time frame. So essentially, on the weekly, we have the high value area. We are approaching it in some form of structure. It's not your common structure. However, we do have a middle section potentially forming, and it is corrective in there, which I do like. We have moved impulsively, correction, natural state would be continuation that we'll be looking for. So looking at this, I'm not really too concerned about this sort of minor sell-off. I'm also looking at this override for it to just kind of push out a little bit more and then go. If something significant really did change, it would be a week or two away anyway. So we'd have to see like a major just sell-off continuation and then it goes. But I don't think the market's giving me any signals or signs of that at the moment. So currently, what I'm being aware of is this low. Are we going to come back, gravitate there? Are we going to line up with double tops on Euro USD, gold, and then we're going to drop off? These are the sort of things that I'm looking at the moment. But the US dollar is looking really nice for a long play. So definitely going to be patient with that. Not really necessary to drill down to any lower time frames on it, but yeah, just going to be patient. Obviously, this can just turn around and just impulse up. So, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make sure that we're on the right side of the market. So that's it for the DXY. Next one I've got is Euro GBP. Euro GBP is one that I put on watch because we've basically come to the high value override zone, and these are the sort of zones that I really do like getting involved in compared to, I mean, a lot of money is made within the run, but definitely how price reacts to those zones definitely presents you with, as Mark says, the golden run. So, what I'm currently looking at is we've had, for example, on the 4 hour. We've broken the mass psychology. We pushed back in, catching traders on the wrong side ever so slightly. We can still gravitate and pull up again before we go down. That is definitely a possibility, giving it that scooping nature. However, with what we have right now, I'm seeing this strong impulse down, natural state continuation, 1, 2, 3, meets with an override on the 15-minute, clear as day, and then we push up, we tag into there, and we sell. I will be looking for a risk entry most probably, but if it's missed, then it's missed. But I definitely think that there's a good trade here because it's forming a really nice middle section in here as well. We did come in a little bit too much, I guess. I think that was just due to news as well. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, so we did push out a little bit too much. So it did give me a bit of that. Hmm, do I really want to get involved in there? But even so, the 1, 2, 3 is still there. Something that I'm actually still happy about. So I will probably look for that 1, 2, 3, and then look for the trade. Perhaps maybe it might push out a little bit further than I expect. If it just pushes out and it's very impulsive, then I may just stay out. I'll look for that push back in and then confirmation. Hopefully, I might see something like a evening star or something on the 15-minute, which might be a little bit nicer. But if we do get a retrace, I still would entertain it. I may just put on some additional protection. So adding on to my stop loss. So as I would take it, it would be more so around about here, waiting for the push up, push back in, and then or just taps into the override, and then perhaps maybe I would put in something around about. Uh, I think around about 12 pips would be suitable. If I'm going to take in the true risk entry for sure, around about 12 pips. I think the sensible one for me would be around about, yeah, I would say around about 27 pips I would go for if I was going to take in true risk entry. But I think if I'm going to be waiting for a little bit more and I'm going to catch it a little bit late, then I could take in around about 10 pips. And I think the 10 pip trade would be something that I would always go back and say maybe I was too aggressive, but the context here is enough. I've planned for it, and I'm more than happy to wait. So, just looking at it like that, that's where the trade would be, and I'll take it in there, and then I'll trade to that low, which is enough to manage, especially to the low of this pattern, which could potentially still be an expanding, essentially, about 1% there. So, as we get to around about the low, I'm around about 1%, so I could lock in break even. Um, and then go. So these are not the areas where I want to be super aggressive anyway. As we reach this low, I may be a little bit more aggressive and lock in around about, 2% when we're running about 5 and then so forth. But this definitely is going to be a really good trade. So that's the main reason why I've got Euro GBP on watch. And I think if this one is going to go, it could go potentially early session, so Asian session. So I think that's one that I think I might potentially be awake for during the beginning of market open. However, coming up to UK session, London opening, we could have a scoop. And if we do get a scoop, that would be the better trade as well. We get an override, we get a push in. So it's a few variations on the table, but I think Euro GBP is definitely going to be a phenomenal pair to be looking at next week. So yeah, that's it for Euro GBP. Next one I've got is Euro USD. So Euro USD is one I kept on watch because I've been monitoring it for weeks on end now. I feel like I'm really in the flow with this particular pair. I've learned so much about this pair over the past few weeks. It's unbelievable. But what I really do like about it is that we're coming back up. There's an override section here that I've marked in as a potential push up, push down, and a flag, and then potentially an entry in there to create something a little bit more in depth to reach this 123. However, this might be the play that I'm looking for. Looking at some of the other instruments like the DXY and gold, but we can definitely still push up and go to this override before we come lower, and then we can reevaluate and see how price is going. But at the moment, I think US dollar is looking extremely nice, and this is very similar to crude oil as well, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so I really do like this. And then when we do get to this low, I'll evaluate if we get a push down, push up, and a flag, and then this becomes something a little bit larger. That's if we do meet this override. If we do meet this 123, I may be interested to see if we come to this low. So we can meet the override, we come down to here, and if we bounce off a section over here and we create this sort of more in-depth structure, I think the 123 would still be on the table, and we could gravitate back up here or even to this high here, and it gets a little bit more complex. So there's a few variations on the table, but I think definitely being sharp with Euro USD is going to be a great play. So um, yeah, and obviously bearing in mind that we have been in this trickling momentum, so the market can turn around and we can go bullish. So if we see some intense sort of impulsive price action and we push out here and we start creating a flag, then I would be looking at the impulsive move out. But at the moment, because it's been corrective on the way out, I am looking for the short, but just always bearing in mind that we can go long as well. Next one is Australian US dollar. Now, the reason why I put this one on watches, and I really do like these ones. I mean, the thing is, they do go during Asian session a lot of the time as well. Early morning is usually where you want to be up for New Zealand and Aussie pairs, in my opinion. But we are coming into a impulsive approach. So I think if this one's going to be ready, it's possible that it'll be early Monday session. It might just impulse and get there, or what we might see is it trickles and then we get it early Tuesday. So um, that's basically what I'm kind of forecasting, but I'm only going by what I've previously experienced. Obviously, it can go, New York session or whatever, early London session. So we have got the impulsive RO3 at the moment, so I've kept it quite simple. Even though there's a potential 123 in there, there's an override here, there's an override here as well. I am looking for the push up, the push down, and a flag. Push up, push down, and flag. It's essentially what I'm looking for. I've marked this in as a very messy middle section right now, but I guess when you zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see like we have a sort of leading up structure to this override, a middle section, and then we have this nice little scoop, scoop, and then it's now a third leg, which is not uncommon to be impulsive. I'd really like to see how this reacts. So could this be the short play to get involved for the short? And then we'll evaluate when we do start to come down to these lows. I think if we do get to this low and we push and we become something larger, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we create a larger flag in here and then we short again for a third touch. But certainly, I will not wait for that third touch. I'll be getting short in here and then reevaluating if we do make it to this low. So Euro US dollar. That's basically it. It's looking really good in my opinion. Moving on to the next one. Sorry about that. I meant Aussie US dollar. So I've got Aussie Swiss, which isn't a pair that I've actually traded before, so that's quite exciting as well. Aussie Swiss coming in with a potential Well, I did this with GBP Aussie last week, GA, and I was looking for this 1, 2, 3 leading structure to the high, and then we sold off. So I'll be aware of that this time around as well. Like I'm looking for this expanding to potentially lead to this override, which will come in with a 1, 2, 3 and then with a pattern within a pattern, 1, 2, 3 as well. And then I'll be looking for a push down and a flag. Even though that I have the expanding high override, risk entry, and then I have the override meeting with it, there is a high above it, and this isn't the higher value override. So that's the reason why I would stay out of the push down and the flag, sorry, the override candle. But I'm going to look for the push down and the flag. So looking at this as a potential structure forming, which would be really nice. A near miss, hopefully, push down, and then we push up. I don't know. It's a bit of one that I'll be looking for a bit too much, I think. But yeah, certainly, depending on even if it's corrective squeeze, if it's impulsive, push down and flag is the way forward. I've only just drawn it as a structure like this because this would be the most ideal structure. But I think an impulsive approach is definitely on the table. A Because we have enough. There's more than enough right now for this to just tap in, probably push out a little bit, push back in, create a flag, and then we're back down for the sell. And what I do like is if we look at the higher time frame structure, you know, we are moving in impulse, correction, continuation, larger correction again, and then pushing down. So similar to some of the other pairs, we'll just be reevaluating when we get to that low. But there's an abundance of opportunity on the way down. It's just when these ones sell, they really commit. So want to get involved in this. And structure is quite well respected once I went back over it and looked at it. So I do really like this pair. I think I don't think this is too much to ask for, but definitely eyes on the override, eyes on this structure, and I think this will be a really good play. Next one is Australia New Zealand dollar. This one is quite cool as well. I think it's a little bit premature what I'm looking for, but the real trade I'm looking for is the tap into this override, a push up, and a flag. The reason I put it on watch list is because I think that's a significant point. I think you know we had a sell off, we double bottomed, and then we pushed off. The next significant point for me would be down here. So it works two ways. Even though we're coming down pretty impulsively, we haven't had some sort of a significant pullback. Like we've had this, but in terms of a pullback, that's not really convincing to me. I think if we're going to continue, we will have a pullback, and structure would be like we might be forming something right now to continue and push lower, or this could be enough to just get to this low and then we reverse and create something much larger. So I think I am more inclined to get into this trade, but if we get structure here, there's more than enough risk reward for me to get into that low. And then if we do push through, the next target zone is pretty significantly far. So that's the one thing I do like about this trade is there's room. There's a lot of room to manage. There's a room to profit and so forth. So if I drill into the 4 hour, what I'm essentially looking for is we've got sort of this and this, which yeah, it's something. It's major significant, but if we get a push down, we push back up, and we come in and tap into this override section, and we push down, create flag, that could be enough for us to go short. And if I can get into that with, let's just say that I get into that with roughly around about, you know, I could probably, if there is possibility for risk entry, I could maybe squeeze in around about 15. Um, not too sure if I would, but possible. And then there's around about 8% there. Obviously, reduce risk depending on how large the flag is. Let's say call it 21. Um, that's roughly around about 5%. But and then the risk entry I wouldn't entertain just because of the how the prices move down. But if I did get a refinement, let's just say, and it was around about 10 pips, that would also be quite financially rewarding. But I'm not too concerned about that. I mean, if it is, it is. More so this trade down here, if I get into the buy, and let's just say risk reward wise, oops, I don't take the retrace, but I take the first flag, and let's just say the first flag was 15. Um, Even if I start trading back up here, and let's say that we come to, let's just mark it on here. So that's around about 12%, it's 20%, and so forth. So I think in terms of a trade, and it would take a long time to go, it's a great place to be entering into a trade to protect yourself. But I think, the only thing about it is getting into a buy here, this could, you know, get a little bit more complicated. I mean, probably not that large, but we could sit in this for a majority of weeks. But positioning is great, and I think that's what I'm also interested in is the positioning of it. So on the weekly, we have had that impulsive move down. We need to see them larger pullbacks now. So yeah, so that's something I'm banking on. I'm banking on maybe we take a reversal here, we start pushing. There's not really anything that significantly says that we're going to turn around and go all the way back up, but it could be a good counter trend play. Um, if I can get this structured trade, I'm more interested because if that goes, you know, banking wise, that could be very financially rewarding as well. So yeah, just gonna be patient, gonna wait that one out, and then potential larger flags, to form later. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But this one is one that I think if it shapes up, I'll be very interested to just monitor it, look at it, and see if I can capitalize on it. Short would be interesting. If I can't, I'll leave it, move on to the next one. Okay, cool. So the last one on my watch list is silver. Silver actually is one that I haven't actually traded either, weirdly enough. I think I have made live trades on it previously, years ago, just haven't actually made any trades on it in, well, the future since I've basically evolved. And yeah, what I do like about this is, and it's not the highest of probabilities, but it's definitely a really nice trade. So what I did like about this, and I'll just clear this off for a second, is we broke below all of this, right? So we were correcting. This had potential to go high. We created this flag. We pushed down impulsively, and then we had impulse, correction, continuation, correction. We're now in the corrective state. So evaluating the corrective state, looking for structure, there's two ways. We have this override, which we don't have to meet, right? We don't have to meet that override, but we are creating structure in here. Taking this point of sell-off, which is over here, taking a second point of sell-off where we actually broke this, had a retrace on a daily, and then we sold off. Now we pushed up impulsively. I don't want to be taking a risk entry. I don't want to take AFT on here right away. I think those would be a little bit too risky in my opinion. I think if I'm going to be taking a trade, I'm going to look for a 1, 2, 3. That's confirmed by an impulse away, then followed by a flag. And then within that flag, I'm going to look for structure, drilling down onto the 1 hour. So not too concerned about this move up at the moment. Wait for that, push up, push down, get the flag. When we're in the flag, there'll be more than enough time for me to actually have an evaluation of it. And then I'm going to try squeezing as much uh, um, risk reward in there as possible. So I will leave myself a little bit of room because I did evaluate and I do see that the first flags are not the cleanest. So they're not the cleanest. Second touches are definitely the ones that come in, and then the third touch is somewhat, you know, a miss. But I think I will definitely look for a two touch. I'll be looking for, yeah, I'll be looking for a two touch, and yeah, I think it won't be the cleanest as well. So I am going to be a little bit sharp with that. But I think if I can't really make out the entry and it's not so clear, then I'll opt in for the reduced risk, and then have to compromise a bit of my sacrifice a little bit of my reward and then look for scale as we move on further. But I think that would be the solid trade. And then if that goes to the low, let's say that's the reduced risk, 8.5, sorry, 8.2, and then as we go to the actual um, larger target, I don't know if we'll be coming all the way down here, but I'll just be trading what I see, and then let's just say that we make it to this low, yeah, so 8.2, and then we'll manage from there, but probably push a little bit lower, probably go to about 10%, and then when the market starts to turn around, gets a little bit complex, we'll see where we go from there. So yeah, I haven't had my coffee yet, so let me go get my coffee and I'll jump into the wildcards. Okay, cool. So didn't get the coffee. Didn't really have any milk or any coffee, so had some water. And yeah, let's go. So what I'm looking at on New Zealand Swiss is we came to this potential override. So it's not really anything of major significance, but there's an override in here that I'm looking at here. We've broken above that. And then essentially now we're creating expanding. So this expanding at the top, it's not the most highest probability, but what I'm seeing on it is this was the sort of inflection point, creating a 1 2 3 pattern within a pattern, 1 2 3. I'm not going to take a risk entry because it's an expanding, it's not the sort of trade I take, but I'll wait for the push down on a flag. If we get a push down on a flag, there'll be more than enough risk reward for myself. I think this would be roughly around about 10 pips that I've drawn on here, but it'd probably be a bit more. So I'll just put on 12, and then let's just say that to that low there's about 5%, and then even further 7, and then whatever. So enough room to manage it, enough to really experience this trade. And if it does go, that would be phenomenal. So this could be a really good trade in hindsight. So that's one that I'll be keeping on. And that's it for New Zealand Swiss. The next one I've got is USD CAD. So USD CAD I'm pretty neutral on. As you can see on the 4 hour there, we're at an override section. We broke above this sort of zone, but we do have higher value areas. I'm also just going to drill down on this little piece of price. So we came with an impulse, we moved sidewards. Could say left shoulder, right shoulder, didn't quite make it. Could say that that was, it's just, yeah, there's some context here for a sell, but at the moment, I'm still looking at this as potentially continuation to the upside. So what I'm really looking at right now is that's the override, that's the line in the sand. We've broken it impulsively using the RO3, and now just going to look for either a push down in the flag or push up in the flag. That's as simple as I'm going to take it. Um, if something else happens and we get very corrective, or price just goes crazy, then I'll probably just leave it, wait for something to form, structure, and so forth. But for now, it's just keeping it very, very simple. Sick. So this one I've got now is EuroCAD. Now EuroCAD, and I believe the next one is CAD Swiss. Honestly, phenomenal. CAD Swiss is even better, but EuroCAD. What I do like about it is we came to the override, we pushed away impulsively. I'm looking for as simple as a correction and then continuation. That's literally it. On the higher time frame, we had a strong. I'll go to the weekly. We had a override meet over here, pushed up, and pushed up impulsively, and now we're in the corrective phase. It's no surprise that we came down to this override and pushed away. Unfortunately, it was a mistrade for myself. I did actually have it on here. I did have it marked on for, I think I went to the 5 minute, and there was a nice little, I was looking for a 5 minute refinement in there. And I think I did mark it on the charts, I just didn't take it on live capital. I think it was a trade here, and then I just marked it in like that, and I said, that's probably a decent trade. Oh, sorry, I don't think that was it. I think it was here. So yeah, I think it was right here when we pushed up, and I was like, you know what, if I'm taking a risk entry, I'm jumping in here. And then I left it in there, and I think that was it. But the real trade was actually right here, and I think I did that on my Friday recap video. And then you'd be running around about 1.5 or something right now. So um, yeah, so that was basically it. But even so, abundance of opportunity, just going to literally wait for that to come down, push back up, create some structure, and then I'm in for the buy. And then I'll probably be looking for either risk entry for sure, but where I'm not too sure yet. So that's basically how I'll be taking EuroCAD. Next one I've got is CAD Swiss. So CAD Swiss, I'll tell you why it's my favorite pair at the moment. So if I go down to the weekly, what we can see on the weekly is we've got a near miss, great, and then we've got a high value over area over here. So I'll say that's sort of a point of interest, right? But more so, we have this level of sell-off. So there was a gap here. We filled the gap, and then it just became a point of interest as well. So I'll just put POI as well on here. Point of interest. I wouldn't say it's any significantly high value area, but because we are looking at this as a corrective squeeze, this can still pull back and then create some sort of structure before we go higher, or to come down and fill that low. So inflection points are something that are of interest. It's just, where are we at? What I see now is, in terms of structure, we have a 1 2 3, and then you can also just draw on more structures that lead to this sort of area here. So this probably came in to just fill in the context of that, and loads of different areas. But One, two, three, and then we basically push down on the 4 hour with a evening star, which I do like as well. Going into the 1 hour, I'm looking at taking it two ways. So this is the line in the sand. If we break below that, I'll be looking for a push down and flag. If we sit above it, I'll be looking at either this is like left shoulder, right shoulder territory, and we can create some sort of structure. Doesn't have to be this sort of a bear flag sort of size, but it could be, it could be a bear flag, it could be a flat flag, it could be something a little bit messier, but I'll be definitely opting into that. If I was taking this 1, 2, 3 here, I'll be looking in for the risk entry for sure, and hopefully it will meet with this sort of section here, and we'll get something that looks a little bit more risk reward sort of appealing. So that's basically it for CAD Swiss, but this is definitely my favorite. Well, I would say CAD Swiss and New Zealand Swiss are my two favorite pairs on the section over here. But yeah, definitely some really good pairs on the board. So Euro Swiss. I did say that New Zealand Swiss and CAD Swiss was my favorite, but I think I like all these pairs to be honest. There's so many good trades. So this one's a bit of a. This one's more. I'm looking at it like a falcon flag. Now we are in this sort of downwards bull flag sort of corrective downwards channel. It's just very messy, but how I like it is we've come in impulsively corrective, pushed up, but then we correctively squeezed to the override. And then when we actually started coming back, we actually correctively, but in a form of structure, started correctively coming down. Now, the thing about these corrective squeezes, there's so many different inflection points in there that we can literally pull back from. However, looking at the structure and what's the most relevant piece of price is we've got this sort of bit, and this is creating like some falcon flag middle section, which I think would be really, really nice to actually take as a short. So it's a counter trend play because I think, well, actually we'll have to wait and see, but it is looking like this is a bull flag, and this could potentially push price higher. But at the moment, what I do like is we basically moved in here, we created this sort of flag, we didn't commit, we pushed back up, we created now one, two, and potentially a third touch. If we drill into the 15 minute, because it will be a little bit more, well, I can go to 1 hour actually and zoom in. We basically create a pin bar at the top of this structure. It doesn't hold a huge amount of weight, but it could technically be the bit for the trend, which was over here. So anyway, evolving the trend now and looking for a 1, 2, 3, breaking this sort of low here, and then basically push down or override and then push up. But the push up and a flag is basically what I'll be looking for over here. I think the push up and a flag is the trade, but this is what I'm basically going to be taking. And I think if I can get into here with, call it a risk entry with structure, whatever in there, let's just go in there and call it about 10 pips as well. I think solid, even a reduced risk entry if the size of that is similar to this, right? Um, yeah, so I think that could easily be a monster trade as well. And if it does go and commits, because we are at a higher value area, this commits and goes even shorter, could be in a really good trade as well. 14, and then even if it just plummets. This could just be the corrective beginning to a larger pull, and then some point down here we create something larger, and we start pulling back. But even to that low, there's about 20%. So there's a lot of potential for this pair. I'm definitely not taking it as a full-on short. I'm taking it as a counter trend, but I do like the positioning. I do like the context. I like the structure. Um, for me, it's not really about the risk reward at this point. It's more so about the enjoyment of this trade. If it does play as well, so this will be the right flag, and then we got the left shoulder, right shoulder head, and then we can actually get involved here and actually take that short, and then just reevaluate. And there might be an abundance of opportunity in terms of structures, so we might push down, create something a little bit larger over here, push down again, break this, create another flag, push down, come down here, create another flag, and then keep going, or reverse and then get out of our trades, look for the continuation, and then get involved in the buy. Simple. Euro Swiss. Last but not least is crude oil. So it was quite a difficult one, to be honest, to kind of think about if I wanted Brent or crude, to be honest, because they're both really nice. But Brent oil, even though it did break the middle section, I think that could be an indication that because crude oil and Brent do move in a very similar fashion, this could just impulse through now, and Brent would keep going. So giving us that feel that we could be up going up for this 1, 2, 3. possible. I've basically marked in and grayed out this line here because this could potentially come to this second touch override, reject, start pushing down, and then it could create something a little bit more equal. Um, and then we could find something more of this angle and say that that was the near miss. And then we have something a little bit more in terms of a structure. But at the moment, I've left it a bit like this. Doesn't look like the angle, but there's definitely going to be a 1, 2, 3 in here. Well, it could be an override, and then there's an override over there, and then there's a higher value zone. So I'm looking for a simple. Impulsive approach, push up, push down, and a flag to the downside. Wouldn't be a super long play, but it could be the long play. Or we continue, we come up to the override, we create the 1, 2, 3, and then I look for the sell, push down, and a flag. Simple situation. Or if we do continue and extend, then I'll be only looking at the higher value zone, not looking at these structures, perhaps looking for a RO3 structured approach towards the end. If not, it's impulsive, same situation, push down and flag. Um, so yeah, essentially that is it. But I am definitely looking for the shorts. I don't think I am looking for any long sort of trades. So I will be hella patient with crude oil. But I think for now, um, yeah, that's the gameplay. So we'd have to stay sharp for that. I think if this one's going to play, it'll be probably, um, hmm, I think Wednesday is definitely a good time for me to be eyeing up. I mean, obviously we have crude oil inventories usually comes on a Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that helps build the volatility for this trade. But at the end of the day, I think yeah, crude oil is going to be a monster trade as well. So that's basically it for my watch list and wildcards. This week's been a slightly different one because obviously I haven't had my coffee. No, seriously, I haven't really been able to actually get really good trades on these commodities. But right now, a lot of them are shaping up. It seems like it's a time for commodities. There's a shift in the market. I think a lot of money are going to be going into commodities. So or being removed from it and being put into some currencies. So it's a really good time to be trading. As you can see, I didn't really put any yen pairs on this week. There wasn't really anything that really jumped out to me. I think the best one I saw was, um, I think it was like, oh no, it wasn't Aussie yen. I think it might have been no GBP yen was unfortunately no. New Zealand yen was kind of gearing up. It wasn't close enough. I think it was CAD yen or Swiss yen. CAD yen and Swiss yen. I think these are the ones that I did kind of like, but I think they were just not really near ready. I think CAD yen almost made it on as well because what I did like was we had sort of override, corrective squeeze, push down, flag. That there was context there, and I did like that, but I think I just opted out to take it off. Swiss yen as well. It was just I was looking for that push down middle section, push back up, and I think I'm just asking for too much at this point. So I think if I'm going to be taking that, it would have been a strong um, wild card, but it would have to play out to the way I want it. And usually, it's not always the case. It would get complicated. Could just sell off from here, and then I've missed a trade. So I think I'd be looking for something a little bit more structurally in your face, but at the moment it wasn't there, so I left it. A lot of great trades on the table. I think, yeah, I think honestly, GBP CAD as well. Honestly, almost made it. What I did like about it is we had this ascending. We came down to the 90% rule. We got to the 90% rule. Structurally, it was really nice. Impulsive approach, pushed back, could create flag. If we push up a little bit more, create flag, push up further, great. We could be in for another good trade. So I think, yeah, there's just so many good things on the table. I just opted in not to put those ones on. GA almost made it as well. GA was similar to Swiss yen, just needed structure to form. So yeah, it's just one of those ones. But I think by next week, some of these pairs could literally be in their high value points, and we could be looking for great GBP trades and possibly strategic yen trades as well. So that's basically it for this week. So thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good week.